Thank you for joining the Pipelines and Pathways Working Group for this explanation video on the Pipelines and Pathways metrics. The contents of this video include context on Pipelines and Pathways data, an explanation of charts created by the Pipelines and Pathways Working Group, and a conclusion where you can learn more about interacting with these data sets. The Pipelines and Pathways metrics include income and demographic data for UVA employees and full-time workers who live in the region. This page contains 3 sets of charts that each answer a question about the demographic and income makeup of local UVA employees and workers in the Charlottesville region. The charts show data for full-time workers who live in the Charlottesville region. Full-time workers are defined as those working 35 hours or more per week, and the Charlottesville region includes the following localities: Charlottesville City, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Nelson, Greene, and Louisa. As of December 2021, there were 20,096 people in the UVA workforce, with 15,111 living in the Charlottesville region. Based on the 2020 American Community Survey, there were an estimated 107,011 full-time working adults in the region. Employment data for the university was provided by UVA HR, and it reflects university employment as of December 31st, 2021. Community data was retrieved from the public use microdata of the American Community Survey conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau and includes 2016 to 2020 5-year estimates. All demographic data is self-reported based on selection options provided by UVA HR and the U.S. Census Bureau. What proportion of workers in the Charlottesville region are employed by the University of Virginia? The following chart shows the proportion of all workers in the community who are employed by UVA. The red circle represents all workers in the community, and the blue circle represents all local UVA employees. About 14% of all full-time local workers are employed by UVA. We can explore the proportion of community workers employed by UVA a bit more deeply by looking at specific income ranges and demographic groups. The following charts show the proportion of community workers employed by UVA, separated by income and different self-reported identities. In each of the charts below, the red circle and the number of workers above the red circle represent community workers. The blue circle and number of workers above the blue circle represent UVA employees. The following chart shows the number of community workers who are employed by UVA separated into income ranges, shown here as hourly wages. No UVA employees make less than $15 an hour because UVA instituted a $15 minimum hourly wage in 2019. The next chart shows the number of all community workers employed by UVA, separated into self-reported racial identities. For example, there are 3,969 self-identified Asian workers in the Charlottesville community, and 1,288 of them are employed by UVA. This means that over 30% of Asian workers in the region are employed by UVA. The final chart shows the number of community workers who are employed by UVA, separated into self-reported categories of gender and disability status. Question 2. How does the UVA workforce compare to the community workforce on wages, and how does the UVA workforce compare to the community workforce on identified demographic characteristics? The graphs below show income and demographic data for UVA and community workers who live in the region and work 35 or more hours a week. This section includes tabs to compare community workers with all UVA employees, UVA Academic Division employees, and UVA Medical Center employees. You can hover over the data points to see the number of employees represented in each percentage. These figures make some of the comparisons between UVA and the community clear. For example, the university has a higher rate of high-earning employees relative to the regional workforce. In addition, there are no UVA employees in the lowest income range due to the university's minimum wage of $15 an hour, compared to 28% of the regional workforce. Another comparison to note is that the percentage of UVA employees who report a disability is very low, at 1%, but is not very different from the percent of the community workforce who reported disability at 4%. The percent of employees who identify as women at UVA is somewhat higher than that of the regional workforce. A key note on the data included here is that UVA demographic data is self-reported. Percentages in some graphs don't add up to 100% because 1. Some employees did not disclose their demographic information, and 2. Some racial groups were excluded to protect the anonymity of individuals and groups with small numbers. Question 3. How do the percent of workers in each pay band and demographic group compare across UVA in the region? The following graphs can be interpreted in the same way as those previously shown. Here we show the percent of each demographic group that is within a pay range across UVA and the community. For example, within the UVA workforce, 29% of self-identified Black employees are making between $15 and $17.50 an hour, compared to the 11% of Black workers in the region as a whole. Another 14% of Black UVA employees are making between $17.50 and $20 per hour, compared to 7% of Black workers in the larger community. And 10% of Black UVA employees and 8% of region-wide Black workers make between $20 and $22.60 an hour. We hope you found this video helpful as you understand these graphs more. To interact with these graphs, please visit tinyurl.com/pipelinesdata.